Alright, so to get started, the first thing we have to do is add the inputs. So go to your first person folder, input IMC weapons right here. Or like I always say, whatever you are using. On the trigger right here, if this is closed, you just open this up and then open up left mouse button. You can do gamepad and touch, which is advisable, but just for the sake of this tutorial, I'm just going to do the left mouse button. On the triggers, hit the plus right here to add a new element and make this released right here. You don't have to worry about any modifiers. And then we can save this and close it. Next, navigate back to your first person folder, go to blueprints, and then open up your weapon component. Inside of here, Unreal Engine just has this directly plugged in, but what we want to do is create a custom event for our spawning of the projectile stuff. So just come somewhere over here, right click, and search for add custom event. And I'm going to call this fire projectile. Like that. And then unplug your triggered right here. And just simply plug in this fired projectile. Now essentially with custom events, you can just simply call the same code over and over again. So for instance, if on this triggered, I drag out and I say fire projectile, I call it, and then I can duplicate this and call it again. Then it will call all of this that this is hooked to twice. So that's sort of what the difference is in just connecting it up like this and adding a custom event to it. Alright, so next let me just delete all this, and you can delete the text on that as well if you want to, just so you don't have to drag it around. And I'm going to drag the shoot up here. And so our trigger, instead of now it being just left clicking, pressing, it's now pressed and released. So we can take advantage of this. Off of triggered, we can do a flip-flop, which this essentially flip-flops between the value. First time this is called, it will do A value. And then the second time it's called, it will do the B output. And then you have a little boolean right here to determine which output was used, but we don't have to worry about this right now. So A is when we press our mouse button, so we can drag off of this and simply just say fire projectile. Just like this. Next, off of your fire projectile, this fires one projectile, but we want to fire multiple because it's automatic. So simply drag out this and do set timer by function name right here. For the function name, it's going to be fire projectile. It is case sensitive and like if there's a space in it, so make sure you copy it exactly how it's written over here. Don't copy this one or it will be wrong. Copy this one. So now just enter fire projectile and hit enter. The time, this is actually customizable. So what you can do is add a variable, call it fire rate, and set this to a float. For me, I'm going to set this to like 0.5, but you can play around with this. But just drag this fire rate out, get fire rate, and connect it right up into the time. And so basically what these timers are, is they are essentially a fancy way of just calling your function right here. These two right here are essentially the same exact thing, except this time node right here. This is like a built-in delay in calling the function. But on top of that, you also have a looping option right here. So it will loop the call over and over and over. And for an automatic weapon, this is what we want. So check the looping. Now you may be wondering why I'm calling fire projectile whenever I'm setting a timer for it right here. Well, the first projectile that gets fired will take 0.5 seconds, or however long you set your fire rate to actually fire. But we want the first projectile to be fired as soon as the character presses the left mouse button. So to negate this delay on the first projectile, you just simply call it right here. For the B, this is where we're going to be canceling this timer we created. But to do that, you want to right click right here on this return value and promote this to a variable and call this full auto timer. Now this variable is basically a reference to the timer we created, and it will allow us to easily cancel it down here. So drag out your full auto timer, get full auto timer, drag off of this and do clear and invalidate timer by handle, and drag it into the B. This will completely clear out the timer. Alright, and so now with that, we are pretty much done, and you can compile and save, and we can test it out. Alright, so testing it out, if I pick up the gun, and I hold down left click, as you can see, it shoots, and then if I let go of left click, it stops shooting, because it cancels that timer. And now I sort of set that fire rate really low, just so I could show you this. So if I open up the weapon component again, and I adjust this fire rate to say something like 0.1, like the default value. Now I compile and save again. Come back in here, pick it up again, fire. As you can see, it shoots much faster. So yeah, that's how you make an automated weapon in Unreal Engine. If you enjoyed, leave a like, subscribe for more, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.